Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our online reading retreat labs. So we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto number 3. So in the last sessions, we're continuing the chapter number 3 of Canto number 3. So let me share my screen. So if you can see, so this is the online version. So Canto number 1, chapter number 3, that is Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So this entire chapter is having total 44 verses. And in the last session, up to the last session, we have completed the text number 36. So today we're going to start from the verse number 37. And we'll be trying to complete this entire chapter today. So we have remaining another 8 verses. So let's then get started. So as usual, we'll be reading only the translation and the purport. So canto number 1, chapter number 3, verse number 37. Translation. The foolish, with a poor fund of knowledge, cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama. Nor can they express such things neither in their speculations nor in their words. Purport. No one can properly describe the transcendental nature of the absolute truth. Therefore, it is said that he is beyond the expression of mind and speech. And yet, there are some men with poor fund of knowledge who desire to understand the absolute truth by imperfect mental speculation and faulty description of his activities. To the layman, his activities, appearance and disappearance, his names, his forms, his paraphernalia, his personalities, and all things in relation with him are mysterious. There are two classes of materialists, namely the fruitive workers and the empiric philosophers. The fruitive workers have practically no information of the absolute truth, and the mental speculators, after being frustrated in fruitive activities, turn their faces toward the absolute truth and try to know him by mental speculation. And for all these men, the absolute truth is mystery, as the jugglery of the magician is a mystery to children. Being deceived by the jugglery of the Supreme Being, the non devotees, who may be very dexterous in fruitive work and mental speculation, are always in ignorance. With such limited knowledge, they're unable to penetrate into the mysterious region of transcendence. The mental speculators are little more progressive than the gross materialists or the fruitive workers. But because they are also within the grip of illusion, they take it for granted that anything which has form, a name, and activities is but a product of material energy. For them, the Supreme Spirit is formless, nameless, and inactive. And because such mental speculators equalize the transcendental name and form of the Lord with mundane names and form, they are in fact in ignorance. With such a foreground of knowledge, there is no access to the real nature of the Supreme Being. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is always in transcendental position, even when he is within the material world. But ignorant men consider the Lord one of the great personalities of the world, and thus they are misled by the illusory energy. Now we will move into the next verse, verse number 38, chapter number 3, canto number 1, SB 1.3.38. Translation. Only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted favorable service unto the lotus feet of the Lord, who carries the will of the chariot in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power, and transcendence. Purport. Only the pure devotees can know the transcendental name, form, and activities of Lord Krishna, due to their being completely free from the reactions of creative work and mental speculation. The pure devotees have nothing to derive as personal profit from their unalloyed service to the Lord. They render incessant service to the Lord spontaneously, without any reservation. Everyone within the creation of the Lord is rendering service to the Lord indirectly or directly. No one is an exception to this law of the Lord. Those who are rendering service indirectly, being forced by the illusory agent of the Lord, are rendering service unto him unfavorably. But those who are rendering service unto him directly under the direction of his beloved agent are rendering service unto him favorably. Such favorable servitors are devotees of the Lord, and by the grace of the Lord, they can enter into the mysterious region of transcendence by the mercy of the Lord. But the mental speculators remain in darkness all the time. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Himself guides the pure devotees toward the path of self realization due to their constant engagement in the loving service of the Lord in spontaneous affection. That is the secret of entering into the kingdom of God. Fruitive activities and speculation are no qualifications for entering. Moving to the next verse, canto number 1, chapter number 3, verse number 39, SB 1.3.39. Translation. Only by making such inquiries in this world can be one successful and perfectly cognizant. For such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes, and guarantee sent person immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death. Purport. The inquiries of the sages headed by Saunaka are herewith praised by Sutta Goswami on the merit of their transcendental nature. As already concluded, only the devotees of the Lord can know him to a considerable extent, and no one else can know him at all. So, the devotees are perfectly cognizant of all spiritual knowledge. The personality of Godhead is the last word in absolute truth. Impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, Super Soul, are included in the knowledge of the personality of Godhead. So, one who knows the personality of Godhead can automatically know all about him, his multipotencies and his expansions. So, the devotees are congratulated as being all successful. A sent person devotee of the Lord is immune to dreadful material miseries of repeated birth and death. So, we will move to the next verse. Canto number 1, chapter number 3, verse number 40. Translation. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Purport. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless, sound representation of all Vedic knowledge and history. There are selected histories of great devotees who are in direct contact with the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna and is therefore non different from him. Srimad Bhagavatam should be worshipped as respectfully as we worship the Lord. Therefore, we can derive the ultimate blessings of the Lord through its careful and patient study. As God is all light, all bliss, and all perfection, so also is Srimad Bhagavatam. We can have all the transcendental light of the Supreme Brahman, Sri Krishna, from the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, provided it is received through the medium of transparent spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya's private secretary, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, advised all intending visitors who came to see the Lord at Puri to make a study of the Bhagavatam from the Person Bhagavatam. Person Bhagavatam is a self realized bona fide spiritual master, and through him only one understands the lessons of Bhagavatam in order to receive the desired result. One can derive from the study of the Bhagavatam all benefits that are all possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. It carries with all the transcendental blessings of Lord Sri Krishna that we can expect from his personal contact. Moving to the next verse, chapter number 1, verse chapter number 3, verse number 41, translation. Sri Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the universe. Purport. Men with a poor fund of knowledge only accept the history of the world from the time of Buddha, or since 600 BC. And prior to this period, all histories mentioned in the scriptures are calculated by them and to be only imaginary stories. That is not a fact. All the stories mentioned in the Puranas and Mahabharata, etc., are all actual histories, not only of this planet but also of millions of other planets within the universe. Sometimes the history of planets beyond this world appears to such men to be unbelievable, but they do not know. Different planets are not equal in all respects, and therefore some of the historical facts derived from other planets do not correspond with the experience of this planet. Considering the different situation of different planets and their also time and circumstances, there is nothing wonderful in the stories of the Puranas, nor are they imaginary. We should always remember the maxim that one man's food is another man's poison. We should not therefore reject the stories and histories of the Puranas as imaginary. The great rishis like Vyasa had no business putting some imaginary stories in their literatures. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, historical facts selected from the histories of different planets have been depicted. It is therefore accepted by all the scriptural authorities as the Mahapurana. The special significance of these histories is that they are all connected with activities of the Lord in a different time and atmosphere. Srila Sukadeva Goswami is the topmost personality of all the self-realized souls, and he accepted this as the subject of studies from his father. Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva is the great authority and the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, being so important. He delivered the message first to his son Srila Sukadeva Goswami. It is compared to the cream of the milk. Vedic literature is like the milk ocean of knowledge. Cream or butter is the most palatable essence of milk, and so also is Srimad Bhagavatam. For it contains all palatable, instructive, and authentic versions of different activities of the Lord and his devotees. There is no gain, however, in accepting the message of Sri Bhagavatam from the unbelievers, atheists, and professional reciters who make a trade of Bhagavatam for the layman. It was delivered to Srila Sukadeva Goswami, and he had nothing to do with the Bhagavata business. He didn't have to maintain family expenses by such trade. Srimad Bhagavatam should therefore be received from the representative of Sukadeva, who must be in the renounced order of life without family encumbrance. Milk is undoubtedly very good and nourishing, but when it is touched by the mouth of a snake, it is no longer nourishing. Rather, it becomes a source of death. Similarly, those who are not strictly in the Vaishnava discipline should not make a business of this Bhagavatam and become a cause of spiritual death for so many hearers. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the purpose of all the Vedas is to know Him, Lord Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam is Lord Sri Krishna Himself in the form of recorded knowledge. Therefore, it is the cream of all the Vedas, and it contains all historical facts of all times in relations with Sri Krishna. It is factually the essence of all histories. We'll move to the next verse, canto number 1, chapter number 3, verse number 42. Translation: Sukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his return delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. Purport: all transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless, therefore, Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literatures are received through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasdev delivered the message to Sukadeva Goswami, and from Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami received the message. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami or from his representative and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Emperor Parikshit received the information of his death in time, and he at once left his kingdom and family and sat down on the bank of the Ganges to fast till death. All great sages, rishis, philosophers, mystics, etc., went there due to his imperial position. They offered many suggestions about his immediate duty, and at last it was settled that he would hear from the Sukadeva Goswami about Lord Krishna. Thus, the Bhagavatam was spoken to him. Sripada Sankaracharya, who preached Mayavad philosophy and stressed the impersonal feature of the Absolute, also recommended that one must take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, for there is no hope of gain from debating. Indirectly, Sripada Sankaracharya admitted that what he had preached in the flowery grammatical interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra cannot help one at the time of death. At the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda. This is the recommendation of all great transcendentalists. Sukadeva Goswami had long ago stated the same truth that at the end of and one must remember Narayana, that is the essence of all spiritual activities. In pursuance of this eternal truth, Srimad Bhagavatam was heard by Emperor Parikshit and it was recited by the able Sukadeva Goswami, and both the speaker and the receiver of the messages of Bhagavatam were duly delivered by the same medium. Moving to the next verse, canto number 1, chapter number 3, verse number 43. Translation: This Bhagavad Purana is brilliant as the sun, and it is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their reason due to their dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from the Purana. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna has his eternal Dhamma, or abode, where he eternally enjoys himself with his eternal associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is a manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his external energy. When he descends to the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia in his internal potency, which is called Atmamaya. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atmamaya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc. are not therefore creations of matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to re-establish codes of religion which are directly enacted by him. Except for God, no one can establish the principles of religion. Either he or a suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Real religion means to know God and our relation with Him and our duties in relation with Him and know ultimately our destination after leaving the material body. The conditioned souls who are entrapped by the material energy hardly know all the principles of life. Most of them are like animals engaged in eating, sleeping, sharing, and mating. They are mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, and salvation. They are still more blind in the present age of quarrel or Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal addition of the animals. They have nothing to do with spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego. But they are very much proud of their advancement in knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk their lives to become a dog or hog just after leaving the present body, for they have completely lost sight of the ultimate aim of life. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga, and he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke to the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from the material world, he empowered Sri Vyasdeva through Narada to compile the messages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus, both the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam are like torch bearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if man in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is a preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum of life. Lord Sri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Srimad Bhagavatam as a direct representation of Lord Krishna. One can see Srimad Bhagavatam, can see also Lord Sri Krishna in person. They are identical. Moving to the next verse, canto number 1, chapter number 3, verse number 44. Translation: O learned Brahmanas, when Sukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus, by his mercy, I learned Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him, and as I have realized it. Purport: one can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Sri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Sukadeva Goswami. One cannot, however, learn Bhagavatam from a bogus hired reciter whose aim of life is to earn some money out of such recitation and employ the earning in sex indulgence. No one can learn Srimad Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his modern scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Sukadeva Goswami and no one else. If one at all wants to see Lord Sri Krishna in the pages, that is the process, and there is no alternative. Sutta Goswami is bona fide representative of Sukadeva Goswami because he wants to present the message which he received from the great Lord Brahmana. Sukadeva Goswami presented Bhagavatam as he heard it from his great father, and so also Sutta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he heard it from Sukadeva Goswami. Simply hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word nivista means that Sutta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, peering, and matting. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Sri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. Thus, and the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So, with this, we have completed the third chapter. So, in the next session, we will start with chapter number 4, entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. So, we'll stop here now. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरि बोल।